beyond the corral, Alerio advised. I'll have the sentry build the practice field on the other side of the meta facilities. Greeley dropped the reins for his mule and began directing the other handlers. Soon there were 2 rows of 5 tents between the large folded Centurion tent and the NCO tent. 4 handlers began leveling the ground, spreading sand, and setting up the officer's tent. From the mule with the Optio and Tesserarius equipment, Alerio extracted a coil of string on a stick, a hammer, and a stack of short stakes. After measuring out a length, he called Greeley over to take one end of the string. "We'll align the camp off the Centurion's tent," he instructed the mule handler. "Pull it tight from the tent pole." Alerio stretched the string so the first squad's tent rested far outside the center line, spaced about 2 tent lengths away from the Centurion's tent. This gave privacy to the infantry officer and allowed him to talk without being overheard. Alerio pounded in a stake, then moved to the other side of the camp and positioned second squad's tent. They stretched the string, measured distances, rotated between sides of the camp, and lined up 8 more tents. At each tent's location, Alerio tapped in a marker stake. On the south end, he pounded in a final stake for the NCO's tent. "This side is straight," Alerio asserted as he wrapped the string around the stick. After strolling across the width of the camp, he peered at the line of 5 markers on the other side and announced, "We have an ordered sentry area." "I'll have the handlers begin setting up the squad tents," offered Greeley. Pointing at the 10 bundles of tents laid in the center of the camp, he added, "After we level the ground. Clear the brush, level the earth, and get buckets of sand for the tent base," Alerio directed. "Leave the tents where they are. I want each squad to erect their own tent." "Part of the training, Corporal?" inquired the mule handler. "More evaluation of how the men work together," Alerio corrected. "They should know how to set up a squad tent. Senator Maximus told me he was hiring experienced legionaries when I was given this assignment." Long after sunrise the next morning, a staggered line of 32 men appeared on the beach. They came from the north, sauntered into the center of the camp, and dropped their travel bags. After looking from the erected Centurion tent to the NCO tent at the far end and the rows of folded squad tents, their eyes locked on the mule handlers. "Why aren't our tents set up?" one yelled down the length of the sentry area. Beyond the NCO tent, a few mule handlers turned their heads to look at the newly arrived legionaries. The rest remained sitting at their campfires. "Get over here and do your job! Or do you need a good beating to teach you your place?" From beside one of the fires, Greeley dipped his head in respect and lifted an arm to point eastward. Several legionaries followed the direction of the arm. At the top of the high hill, they noted a man dressed in a loincloth with a gladius on his hip, wearing hobnailed boots. "Who in Hades is that Kulus?" a legionary questioned. "No clue," another responded. They watched as the man jumped from the crest, landed a body's length downhill, and began tracking back and forth. As he descended, they could see he glistened with sweat, obviously from earlier exercises. Muscles straining from the run, the half-dressed man arrived at the foot of the hill. There he transitioned to a march while crossing a square of level sand the mule handlers had prepared for a squad tent. "Good morning, legionaries," Alerio greeted the group. He snatched a woolen shirt from the top of a folded tent, wiped off the sweat, and slid on the garment. Before it fell over his head, the legionaries noticed his battle scars. "We're going with the contubernium. 8 men to a squad." "I've brought my own 10-man squad," the legionary who threatened the mule handlers stated. "Who are you?" "Corporal Sisera. 8 heavy infantrymen to a squad. Now I'd suggest you set up your tents." "I was supposed to be the Tesserarius," the legionary challenged. "Optio Gustavi said it when I signed up with the Century." Alerio looked over.